Let's do it. Okay, so this is Christine, your host of the BeautyPro podcast. I am here with Miss Sharon Huckle of the Unstoppable Stylist podcast, and I'm very excited to what she is going to be sharing with us today. So before we get started, Sharon, introduce yourself. Who are you?
Well, I'm Sharon Huckle, and in some ways I'm not that special. I'm just like everybody else. No Susie Snowflake here, but what I have been doing is working on building a profitable business and styling a life I love for the last 25 years in the beauty industry, but also in multiple other industries. And went through some really tough times while I was trying to manage all of that. And out of that was born the Unstoppable Stylist. And I kind of went through hell and back, and I like to say that I'm, on the other side of it now, which has been really helpful. But as I look back on my journey, there were lots of hard times, and I started to recognize what was in me that made me push through, or what wasn't in me, what I was lacking, and what I needed to fill up on, that would create this life that I could continue to live, right? Because things got a little dodgy there for a minute. So that's it. So that's where the Unstoppable Stylist was born. That was like, I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to give up on myself more than anything. And then of course the business, as we know, we're very wrapped up in our businesses. So I also decided not to quit on my business because that came really close as well. So,
yeah. So I do know from your Instagram and your page, you share a lot about previous relationships, romantic relationships, marriages, that kind of thing. And I just on the beauty
marriages, you made it sound like I had a whole bunch of marriages. I did not. Just to clarify,
no, I'm so sorry.
I only had one, but it was a long stretch, and it felt like we lived a bunch of lifetimes. But he was also my business partner.
Okay, see.
So that is why it was so embroiled and actually difficult to get out of this situation when it got really messy. But I mean, truthfully, it was kind of messy, but also kind of lovely our entire 25 years.
Oh,
well, that's what makes it so hard, right?
Right.
Relationships are never like just all horrible, because otherwise you wouldn't stay in them, right?
Right.
They tend to have a way of coming back around and being real sweet. So
I guess my question really is, how was your life outside of the salon influencing your life in the salon? Because you mentioned he's your husband, he's your business partner. And I know a lot of our listeners, for whatever reason in the beauty industry, we have a hard time with relationships. And then with something like this, it just complicates it even more. So tell us about your story with that and how you overcame it.
Well, for me, I don't know if I've overcome anything really. You're just working on it. But the salon was always my happy place, right? So even though I was bawling my face off in the morning, the minute the clients arrived, I, sort of put on that happy face. And not that I was like not transparent or honest or fake or anything like that, because certainly certain clients did see me break down. I'm human after all, and there was some pretty heavy shit going down there. But when I realized why I was showing up to the salon was to take care of other people, pretty soon it became like, once I got laughing with clients and talking, and laughter is something I make a lot of jokes and, like about all kinds of things. And that was my coping mechanism to get through, because I didn't want to be a Debbie Downer for my clients. I didn't want to be a Debbie Downer for myself. Like when I was wallowing so much, I couldn't even handle being around myself. Like I was getting on my own nerves, right? So I certainly didn't want to be that for my clients. And they certainly weren't paying for my therapy sessions. Although, people they would say to me, have you talked to somebody about this? I'm like, no, I need to shut up about it. Actually, is what I need to do. I talk a little too much, but I would make jokes about it, right? And that was my personal coping mechanisms. But there were times where, of course, I was crying, not in front of clients so much, but I just didn't find those as effective, as cathartic as everybody said. They made my eyes puffy, they made my nose clogged, they, it wore me out to cry. And I didn't get anything done, but where I was in action and I was happy and I was surrounding myself with positive people, that's when the shifts really started to change. So I don't, want to tell people how to deal with their stuff. But that's what I found worked for me. I got really tired of being sad, and I tried that depression thing and I did not enjoy it. So I don't want to go there ever again.
Yeah.
That's a decision, right? It is well, again, I don't want to discount people's struggles with mental health at all. There's a lot of that going on right now, but I knew for myself, and that's the only thing I can really speak to, is I had to make a decision about who I wanted to be and how I wanted to show up. And my role in the salon was a big part of that. If I was able to just stay home and cry all the time, which was why COVID was not good for me, right after all of this happened, like
Oh,
the hell
wow.
that was my life, then COVID happened and I was alone too much. And
Oh,
that was really hard on me. I mean, I did some work and some healing during that time, but it was
sure.
being alone was not a good thing for me, which is why I started online dating, which ended up being a good
Girl.
thing. Ended up being a good thing, but I did find someone lovely. But yeah, like it was my kid actually who
Oh,
got me going on it. He's like, Mom, come on, because he was tired of me being sad and lonely too, right? Because it
yeah.
impacts them as well. Like
Yeah.
you're the mama, and I'm not that great at hiding stuff from anybody. So I present it differently. I don't hide anything, but I just try to present it in a more humorous way.
Yeah.
Your kids don't want to see that. They want to know you're strong and you can handle it.
Yeah. Well, for myself, my parents are also divorced. And so from a child's perspective of your parents being sad and seeing your mom or your role model, whichever parent it is, just be so crushed and heartbroken, it
Mhm.
is difficult, and you want to help them as much as you can, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So
And I've
it's
got
really
two
tough.
amazing boys. They're not
Yeah.
boys anymore. They're men. They're,
Yeah.
almost 20 and 24. But I'm sometimes astounded at how well they came out of all of it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to credit myself because I know I made a lot of mistakes, but
What
I
a
also did
blessing.
things right. And they never doubted my love for them throughout that whole thing. So that was.
So with that, now let's turn more. So that's what's going on outside of the salon. Now
Mhm.
let's focus on what's going inside the salon, because it sounds like, yeah, you said that was your happy place, but that's what really pulled you through. So
Yeah.
for the listeners who are going through tough times, we need some inspiration for them. So what did you do? Because I know you have like other businesses too, not just the salon. So tell us a little bit about how you make your money and what motivates you to just keep going.
I mean, that's kind of a loaded question there, but what motivates me to, we'll talk about the other businesses. So
Okay.
in addition to the salon where I
Mhm.
work 4 days
Mhm.
a week, serving clients, and again, my salon business has morphed. I mean, we're going into year 20 next year. So it's definitely changed over the course of that 20 years. And it's about to go under another big change, which I'm super excited about. But that's probably the main way I make money. But I own 3 old buildings. The salon is in one of them, but those were our former restaurant and catering company and our ice cream company. We had a big food business as well. So when our marriage broke up, obviously the business partnership went with it. And I had to figure out what to do with all these old buildings, because basically it was a situation where my husband, he needed to go, and that was it. So I took on all the debt, all the responsibility of all of this, including the house and the kids and everything. Like he basically just walked away, and that was what was necessary at that time. And so, I just got left holding the bag. And, somebody could say, oh, you're left with all the assets, but they weren't assets at the time. They were debts, liabilities, responsibilities that, I had to decide that I was strong enough to take that on. And
Yeah.
there were certain moments where I did not feel that strong, but I mustered up the courage and I leaned heavily on my support network. I think that was so important. I always joke it takes a village to keep me going.
Mhm.
And it's not really even a joke. It's 100% truth. So in times like that, you need supports. You can't be everything. You just can't. especially when times are tough. So you need to lean on support. And that's why, coaches were helpful, mentors. I have wonderful family, parents, my kids, everything. And I really dialed into that. And then I had to refocus my energy and my attention. So, I had to take these old buildings that, we put on the market, but we're going to lose money on. And I decided, no, I want to keep them. I'm going to do something different. So I turned them into a boutique motel. So
cute. Oh my
yeah.
God. I love this.
So it is cute, and it's a lot of work as well, right? And it's a lot of, there's ups and downs, and things are always happening. They're old buildings, they're like 200 kind of years old. So something's always breaking, but I make jokes about that too. And I have my little breakdowns, but then I have my breakthroughs, and I get through it all. And again, I have a huge support network of, just even guys that can come and fix things really quickly. Because I pay them properly.
That's so
I never wait the 30, 60, 90 days to pay my workmen. I like, as soon as they give me an invoice, I'm like, here it is. Right. So I make sure those people are paid, so they come when I call them.
I'm so happy that you mentioned that. Yeah, because it's also a little thing that we have going on in the industry that we kind of just like, oh, okay, I'll just pay you, day 29 of the 30 days that you give me.
Take care of your people. I really believe in that. Take care of your people.
And you have a network. You like, I feel like people get confused with that word sometimes too. Like, a network is your circle of friends. It's your back bar people, like your plumber, your electrician, your all those people. And then you also have like your business, I guess, collaborations too. Like you're building it, and you're like building relationships is a better way, I think, to say that.
Yeah, that is network makes it sound like it's like, too business like, but I am a relationship kind of person. I'm a lifer, and my friends, I've got a lot of the same friends I've had for many years, and people are like, oh, that's because you live in the same town. I'm like, no, they don't even live here. They don't even live here. So it's not that. I keep in touch with people. I'm one of those people who thrives on human connection, which again was why COVID was so tough, because I wasn't getting that human connection that I so seriously crave. Like, I always joke that when I get old, I'm going to be like the Golden Girls and just like live in a house full of women, because I know a lot of people talk about Mean Girls and stuff like that. And I've had, the odd fallout with, female relationships, but overall, like, I got some good girlfriends.
Yeah.
They are so fun, and they totally have my back, and I have theirs. And that's it. So it's always about being the person you want to attract in your life, I think is a big part of it. And then being very grateful for those people that are in your life. I am never one to shy away from saying thank you, and I love you, and I'm sorry. And, how can I help you? All that stuff. Right.
Yeah. So that's all your past and your past struggles that are bringing you here. What's happening with you currently that now you have some experience on how to deal with and move forward? What's happening for you today?
Yeah. Like, you don't spend 20, 25 years in business without learning some good lessons.
Yeah.
And then there's still mistakes that I continue to make. And I'm like, Sharon, would you just learn that lesson, please? Like, seriously. But we're all allowed to be works in progress and masterpieces all at the same time. So I just keep reminding myself that. But my current situation is I still have the salon, I still have the motel, but I'm trying to like marry and the coaching business, and I'm trying to marry all this together. So I'm in constant renovation mode, but I'm working on renovating a studio space that used to be our former kitchen, which was a very emotionally loaded space for a long time. It became the emotional hoarding and material hoarding space. And I finally just kind of cleaned it out, gave it a fresh coat of white paint, repaired the rotting floor, did a lot of work on it. We're getting to the prettying up stages now, which is exciting. It seems to take longer than the actual, like, just gutting it, but
yeah, that's so
it's happening. So that's going to be turning into like where I record my podcast, where I, get on YouTube, that sort of stuff. And where I have because the other thing is I got this unique space where I have a salon, and then I have like these 4 suites of this boutique motel, and then I have the studio all in the same block of buildings. And so what I would really like to do and planning to do are retreats there. So stylists can come, And coaches can come and stay in my space. And then we can, work in the salon together. We can film stuff in the studio. I have a really close relationship with a branding and boudoir photographer. I always do all her hair and makeup for that. She's my branding photographer, but she's going to be able to use that space for her branding photography because her boudoir photography setup is a little different.
And rightly so.
Again,
rightly so.
Yeah. And collaborations that way. Just making, even when I designed the space, I had her in mind of how I wanted to, I'm setting up little vignettes for her kind of thing. So she can do branding too. So that's why she's like, why would you do that for me? But I'm like, because I think it would be cool if you could use the space. And I want her to shoot me in that space and all over the other spaces. So it's going to be really neat to have these retreats. So I just have to get that renovation done. And then of course, next year, is my 20th year in the salon. So I'm planning a big rebrand and new logo, new signage, kind of new everything. And I've just been praying that everything that I have lasts for another year. So that it's not even going to be a year now. It's going to be 5 months, 6 months till I start replacing, sinks and the roller, all that stuff and redesigning all of that. And so that's super exciting. And I'll be documenting all of that in a membership, which is really neat. So yeah,
tell us about this membership. What is?
Yeah, so I'm literally going to be. So it'll be launching in April in honor of our 20th anniversary, April 14th. But I'll have already padded the membership area with the first 2 months, or I guess 3 months, January, February, March, first 3 months, which reflect my pillars, right? So I have a framework that I kind of came up with from a business perspective. And when I looked back at our 25 years of doing business, these were the things that always got us to where we wanted to go in the fastest time frame. And then I actually had an epiphany one day where I saw that framework was actually alive and well in my personal life as well. And so basically that is build your brand, attract dream customers. Sorry, I'm not gonna retain raving fans. God, where am I going? My brain's there. So build your brand, attract dream customers, retain raving fans, earn more income, save time and money, and create lasting impact. Those are the 6 things. And when I say that that's personal, when I decided I wanted to become the Unstoppable Stylist, there was a lot of soul searching that went on there, but that was me creating my brand, right? And then I was attracting the people in my life that I needed to help me become that person, right? And then I was retaining the people who are going to help me stay there, because when the going gets tough, you need that loyal group, right? And the people who will cheer you on and, pull you out of those dark times, that kind of thing. Then, of course, you want to earn more income. So how do you, not just income in terms of dollar bills, but how do you create this rich life, right? In the relationships, your health, your wealth, and your time freedom, right? How do you want to spend your time? And then we went into save time and money. So of course, now that you kind of set up what you want, how do you make it work? And of course, money, almost every decision we make in life has a financial impact. So we can't deny that money is important. It ranks right up there with oxygen. We need it to survive. So we got to stop pretending that money doesn't mean anything to me. It's no, but what it gets you to, right? So that is my whole thing. I help people build more income so that they can, live the life that they actually want to. I mean, that's the easy thing to do. Actually, making money is an easy thing to do. Right. Make it hard. It's the other things that are hard, right? Making money is easy. Money can solve a lot of your problems. So it's not more money, more problems. No, you have to work on the inner stuff as well. But that's it. And then create lasting impact is the last thing, because even though they all kind of intertwine, because at some point you realize this is bigger than me. I want to have impact. And I think as hairdressers and beauty professionals, we get that. Our jobs, there's a lot of purpose and passion behind them, but there also has to be some reward for that. And finances is an easy one to track. So I think it's a good one. And then you can, spread that into the other parts of your life. We want you to have a rich life in all kinds of ways, but when you get more cash flow, I have to say, I have been super broke, on the verge of bankruptcy. And then I've been flush with cash, and I operated better when I was flush with cash. There's a quote from Dorothy Parker. It says, "I've never been a millionaire, but I'm sure I'd be darling at it." That's right. Yeah. And when I look now, some days I feel like I'm broke as a joke, but when I look at what I've built, right, I have these assets.
Right.
I am worth, well over $1 million. So I am a millionaire, and I'm doing, I'm pretty darling about it, right?
I love this.
Living
I
the
love
dream.
this.
And sometimes you have to look back and realize like everything that you've done. I talk about this a lot in my coaching, is that I have a to-do list, always a long to-do list, but I also have a to-do list. I have a,
Oh,
and I
I love
started
that.
that during COVID, because literally a month would go by and I'd be like, what the hell have I done all month? Like I've done nothing. I've laid around,
Yeah.
whatever. But no, I started writing down, what did you actually do, Sharon? And I was amazed at how much I accomplished in that, thing. And not just what I accomplished, but who I was becoming as a result of this, huge impactful event that happened in my life right after, a bunch of other huge impactful, because my marriage wasn't just breaking down and our business wasn't just breaking down. And the reason our business was breaking down was all kinds of problems through no fault of our own.
Mm.
And I mean, obviously we played a role in some of them, but not really. And then of course, my son was sick, he had to have 6 surgeries. My mom was sick. She had cancer. She's okay. My father-in-law was sick with cancer and died. And my husband had already lost his mom to cancer. So, I mean, it was just such a heavy time, and he was falling apart, and I could no longer hold him up because I was falling apart. And, that was when I realized, oh, I got to hold it together. Otherwise, and you know what? I was never suicidal, but there were many days when I was driving to work, I wished a car would just hit me,
Oh,
put me out of my misery. And actually, no, I can't say that I was never suicidal. There was a moment I was driving home by myself. I probably shouldn't have been in the car by myself at that moment, but I was in the car by myself, so sad, so depressed, whatever. And I literally, if I had not had children, I would have driven right off the road that night.
Oh,
That was one of my absolute lowest moments. But, I realized I can't fall apart. I can't. And, and that's sort of what drove everything down. And that's when I decided I need to become the Unstoppable Stylist. There's too many people counting on me. There's too many people I love that I don't want to let down. I have big dreams, big aspirations. I just can't carry the weight of this. My husband was an alcoholic, and I knew that through our entire relationship, whatever. But he was also this wonderful human being. And it was just really that Jekyll and Hyde situation. And it was so heartbreaking to me because I loved him with this, with my whole heart, and then some. And I still I don't have contact with him now, but I still miss him. I miss the good parts of him. And you can't cut that out like a cancer. And it became a decision of choice, right? Or a disease of choice. And I had to realize he kept choosing that over his family and me. And of course I was the butt of a lot of the abuse, and, mental abuse, not physical. And in some ways, physical would have been almost easier to deal with.
that's how I feel. Yeah. The mental and emotional, like just knock around is just so brutal. And I feel it takes more time to heal. And you're sharing this, and thank you so much for talking about, not those moments where you're driving and you just hit me already. Like, let's just be done with this, because that's real and raw. And that's the human experience right there. It's just too much sometimes. And I feel like a lot of us go through that and we don't talk about it enough because of, oh my goodness, what are people going to say and all this stuff. And, you came out of it, and it's still part of the human experience, right? So it's not like, oh, I'm healed and, here we go. But you are like, no, I have my kids, I have my family, I have my friends. No, I have so many passions that I want to accomplish. If I end this now, then what? Then what am I going to be known for? Right.
I don't 100% believe you have to be healed to make things happen. Right. Like, I mean, healing it's a process. Like, even when you break something, it's never like 100% where it was. Right.
Right. It's not how it was before.
And, you make adjustments. So, my broken heart, it will never be what it was when I was young and naive and whatever. But I don't want it to be. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back to what that was. I don't need that feeling again. I like all the new feelings that I have. And there's moments where I feel like, oh God, I'm embarrassed about what happened to me. because that certainly was not the end of it. And it never will be the end of it. I'm sure I'll
Right.
do plenty of other embarrassing things. But I like to think I've learned from a few of them. And some,
Yeah.
again, some I have not learned. Like I still do stupid stuff. I still do things in my business that I know better, right?
Yeah.
You know, you want to make change. And I always say nobody likes change like a hairdresser, but change is still tough, you know?
Yeah. It
And you don't want to
is.
upset people. And I am like a proud people pleaser, like
Mm-hmm.
proud of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's what, so, and like, there's so many things that become negative, right? But everything can have a negative connotation or a positive connotation. It's all in your outlook. Like even the word unstoppable, depending on the energy that is driving it, it can mean two very different things. Like unstoppable is like, oh my God, I got to keep going. This is unrelenting. I can't give up. I gotta, or it means like, no, I got this. I can do this. I am unstoppable. Right. And your mood can change like minute to minute, never mind, whatever. So you kind of have to choose your mood. I like to think of it, going back to the restaurant life.
Yeah.
This is like a menu. Like you've got all your painful experiences and your painful thoughts and your painful feelings. Right. And then you've got all your blissful ones. And when you're feeling like, oh, like, and this, look at it like a menu. Like
Yeah.
literally write these things down. Like, what do you think, feel, and do when you're in the negative space? And then what do you think, feel, and do when you're in the positive space? And then choose that. So if you're dwelling on that negative, just like, okay, I don't feel like eating that today. I'm going to eat something else that's going to nourish my soul and fill me up and fill my cup so I can give from the overflow, instead of where I'm always empty and exhausted and depleted. Like you can't sustain that. Right. So I know what brings me joy. I 100% know. And so I just try to do more of that. And
what can you tell, I guess, the younger hairdressers and beauty and barber pros, like coming into the industry, and just anybody in general, like what can you tell them so that they themselves can find their joy?
I think you got to try a lot of things. I know there's a lot of talk about specialization and even when I was first started hairdressing, there were a lot of salons that specialized. You had to choose your path, like color or cut. And I was glad the salon that I worked in did not subscribe to that. Although I can see the benefit to it. But I like doing all the things, and that sort of satisfy my brain, I guess. But you got like try lots of things and don't be afraid to screw up and don't be afraid to make mistakes and kind of laugh it off, whatever. Because the real sadness is that you didn't try anything, right? And then just sort of like figure out, okay, I don't like that. Like, I mean, I figured out early on in my career, I was not real hot on perms. Like I literally, when I moved back to my small town, I was blessed with like, we had built the hype and I had a big full clientele the minute I walked in the door. But, there were a lot of perms booked. Like I literally did more perms in the first 2 weeks working there than I had in like the 2.5 years I'd started my career in Toronto. And I remember walking up to the receptionist after one of the last perms. I was like, the next person who books a perm is walking out with color and highlights. And from that moment on, I just changed my approach. I was like, no, I'm going to talk them into working with their natural texture. I'm going to talk them into all the benefits of color and everything. And that's what I did. And, quickly became well known as the color specialist and, but also the curly haired specialist and the cutting specialist and then also I did tons of updos and bridal work because we had a catering company. We just lived and ate brides, like literally, like that was what we did, so I became all those things and I've loved all of those things. And so I don't really feel like I've specialized in lots of things. I've had a long career. I've been able to play. And I haven't closed myself off to too many things apart from perms, right? But I just decided, and after a while, like I used to do extensions, and after a while I said, oh, yeah, I don't like this anymore. So I kind of weeded that out of my program. But some days I'm tempted by it again. I see all these girls doing it. I'm like, then I think, oh, why did you quit that in the first place? You're like,
Right.
So again, I'm not closed off to the idea, but I'm at a different stage in my career where I'm not worried about that so much. But what made me happy, right? But I had to try all the things, right?
Yes, see, I love that you say that because that is the talk, like pick one thing and just perfect it. But hearing you now, it's all about layering. And I talk about that with my clients too, my coaching clients. You got to layer your experiences, try all the things, and then pick and choose what you like. So thank
Well,
you
when
for
you
sharing
have,
that.
like, some of my clients have been coming to me for 25 years.
Yeah.
So like I've seen them through lots of things, right? So when
Mhm.
you want to have a long career in an industry, and maybe that's not always possible because you move or, whatever, but
Mhm.
um, like you want to be able to go through all those experiences with your clients. And again, I'm not ever telling anybody how to run their business. You have to do what feels good to you. But I think the big thing in that is not knowing that there's nothing wrong about the way you're doing it. If it
Right.
feels good to you, there's lots of ways, right?
Mhm.
So, and that's the approach that I take when I'm coaching, is that we get to the bottom of what feels good for you. And I call that soulful selling and soulful sales. Because I love sales, actually. I believe we're all in sales, even if we're parenting, we have to, sell our kids on eating their vegetables or whatever, you
Yes,
know,
that's
brushing
so
their teeth.
true.
Like,
Yes.
yeah, so become a good salesperson because it's a skill, and it's a really good skill. Once you learn how to do it, you're set for life. You are
Mhm.
set for life. And the first thing you always have to sell is yourself, right? And you have to sell yourself to yourself
Yeah.
because that's
Yes.
the thing. But knowing that there's no wrong way to do anything can make it, like, in some ways it's confusing. But then if you just get quiet and you think, no, okay, I got to do what works for me. And that's why, like, things like, okay, I decide, okay, that's it. I'm having a cancellation policy, and I'm doing this, and then I'm like, oh, like, oh. So you have to figure out the way to make it work for you. Like, you
Right.
can have policies, but they don't have to be like rigid. I'm not rigid. There's nothing rigid about me. I'm
Right.
so soft and like,
Yeah.
pliable.
Yeah.
Like, and I like that about myself, right? I like that. So you got to decide who it is you want to be and what you like about yourself, and then just really hone in on that. And that's what makes it fun for you to do business. And that's what makes it easy to do business,
Mhm.
because you're not trying to be anybody else. You're not trying to do what they're doing. And if it doesn't resonate with you, then it's not going to stick. Like,
That's
it's
so
just not.
true. That is so true because we look up to our role models and stuff and we say, "Oh, I want to be just like them." But you can't be just like them because you're you and there's only one you and somebody else is looking at you saying, "I want to be like you."
Yeah.
And so which brings us to this question of who are your three most influential people that you looked up to?
Oh, I could not even answer that because I am flaky as
Oh no.
anything. No, I am, because I bounce all over the place because I love all the ideas. I'm like, I've never been diagnosed with anything officially, but I just keep saying I'm just not right in the head. That's all. I think that's okay with that diagnosis. But you know what? I had wonderful parents. Like, I always say, if more people in the world had parents like mine, the world would be a very different place, right?
Mm,
So
I
there's
love
that.
that.
I have incredible friends, like, who I can call in a second and would, be there for me. And, like, it was funny actually, because one of my first jobs when I was 14 was at Byway. I don't know if you guys even have that in the US. Byway.
No,
It's like this
I don't think so.
discount kind of place, whatever. But I am still friends with so many people from Byway, like more than any other school experience, more than university, more than hairdressing school. Although I'm still friends with one of my best friends from hairdressing school. But like, I'm a lifer, and I recently turned 50, and I had a party at my house, and the Byway gang was there. One flew in from Florida. One was from Toronto, Bowmanville, and another one lives in my town, and that's my boss, right? And it was so neat to, like, and that was when I was 14 that I started working. And
I
at
love
this
that.
party, there were people, like, obviously my family was there, my
Yeah.
kids were there, and then lots of friends, new friends, old friends, clients were there. And it was so much fun. And I just, like, I sat around, and my son, my youngest son, who's 19 and just a sweetheart, but he said, I want to know how everybody knows my mom. And we went through, like, how they met and of course they all said nice things about me. And then at the very end of it, I'm like, okay, because it was just like love on Sharon moments, right? And there was a lot of people there, so it took a while. But I'm like, okay, now I want to know how I got on all your nerves, because I'm sure there's plenty of
Oh my gosh.
But, you know, it was funny. Everybody laughed and nobody shared, but I'm sure they had some ideas. But, you know, I just feel so lucky. So I've had so many amazing influencers. I often say I've got little, you know, people on my shoulders all the time. And there was that Fred Flintstone where you'd have the devil Fred and the angel Fred. But I always feel like that. Like I've got my friends and my family and my old, you know, bosses and mentors and coaches. They're all whispering in my ear when I need them. And that comes up for me. So I cannot pick three. It's like asking what your favorite food is. Like I'm a total foodie. Like,
Okay.
I can't pick one food. I love
All
all of
the
it.
things.
I always joke, like, I could never be racist because I'm like, what you eating over there?
Oh my Lord.
That smells good. Where are you from? You know?
Yeah, I do. I totally get
Because
that.
I love food. I love people. I love love. Like I even told my new partner, I mean, he's been around for 2 years, but I'm like, I am definitely going to, first of all, my ex was Tim and my new guy is Jim. And I'm like,
Oh my Lord.
So I'm like, I'm definitely going to call you by the wrong name, like 100%. And I said, and I'm definitely going to say I love you early. Because I'm not skimpy with that. I say I love you all the time. And I've been known to like on the phone, because I always like every phone call I have with my friends, my sisters, my parents, everything, we always say I love you at the end of it. And I've said I love you to like the random bell guy. I've said I love you to my accountant, my contractor, my electrician. I just do it now. I'm like, okay, what? There's lots of forms of love. So I'm like, and even though I laughed about it at the time, like, oh my God, I just said I love you to the bell guy. But you know what? He helped me solve my problem. At that moment, I loved him. Right?
Absolutely. In that moment, you just did something that I couldn't. So yeah, I love you.
So yeah, we get all hung up on this and we're really stingy with our words and our feelings or whatever. But the more you say it, the more you hear it. Like I say it all the time and I hear it all the time. So I put it out there and I receive. And that is why I'm so lucky and so blessed and so whatever. But I feel like I'm not to like toot my own horn, but I feel like I'm a blessing to other people too, because people need to hear those things, right? Your clients need to hear that you really truly care for them. And there's that Maya Angelou quote that says, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that is kind of one of the backbones of my business. Like I really do care about people. I care about their hair. I care about their soul, you know.
That's so beautiful.
And you know, well, and that's, you know, and it sounds like lip service, but it really truly is.
No,
my friends know that no one ever is going to doubt how I feel about them. And I'm not a very harsh person. So, I mean, even the people who, you know, who've done me wrong or whatever in my life, I forgive very easily. And I don't
is so beautiful, Sharon. Oh my goodness. Like grudges are not your thing.
No,
That's what it sounds like.
Space for it. Like literally my cup is so full of love and overflowing with love that I don't have space for that stuff. And, you know, even though I've, you know, cut off contact with my ex, you know, and so my kids, right? Like it's still like it pains us to have to do that, but it was necessary for our mental health. And, you know, I tried for the longest time to keep in touch with him and, you know, but it's like, and I hate that we're not in touch. I would like to be, but, it was just necessary at this time, and it might change again, who knows, but, that was where we're at. So, you know, you do have to make some choices, but like, I shoot love out to him more than anything. Like, I don't want to be angry with him. I don't want to be, you know, anything negative. I just, so that's where I'm at with that. Yeah.
But that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
What you put out, you get back with your clients, with your family, your friends, your circle of life over there in Canada, right? Like that's I wish more beauty and barber pros did that, because I know a lot, they kind of like, they have that victim mindset, you know, and it's all about what you put out there. That's what you're going to get back.
and I'm not impervious to that. I certainly do have my victim mindset. I mean, COVID was
Sure.
tough, right? We had to borrow lots of money, but then I always said, because people say, don't you ever get depressed? I'm like, oh, I tried that once and I don't like it, so I'm not doing that again. But what I say is, as soon as I start to roll down my list of things to be grateful for, by the time I get to 3 out of 3,000, I'm feeling pretty good about my life. And my sister actually, I've got 2 sisters and a brother, but my sister, who's closest in age with me, I just met up with her for an afternoon there. She lives in a different town than me, but we kind of met halfway. But she has taken on her last year when the Ukraine war broke out, she took on a young woman from Ukraine.
Wow. You guys, it runs in the family. You're amazing.
I have very lovely family. But so she took on this young girl from Ukraine, and she's done so well here. She was only 18 when she came over, and literally her mom put her and her brother on a train and said, go to the edge of Ukraine, walk across the border to Poland, and go start your new life. Because her mom had to stay there in Kharkiv, and she did. And luckily she landed in my sister's, home, and has done so well for her. But my sister, she's kind of moved on. Like she's, met a guy and moved in with him now, and things are good for her. And she already got her license, already got a job, like she's doing well. But now my sister's taken on this other young guy, 18 years old, from Ukraine again. And now his girlfriend's moving in with my sister as well, because she got bounced around and didn't land in a good spot. And anyway, but he had to choose at 17, whether to leave his country, probably forever, or stay and risk his life, right? And my kids are, close in that age range, right? And I would never want them to have to choose something like that. So just that alone, my dad always said, you won the life lottery just being born in Canada. You could have easily been born in a slum in Calcutta, and then he would say, like, go clean your room because it's looking like the streets of India, But like, my parents were immigrants, like they came from England, but which wasn't a horrible place, but there wasn't as much opportunity as there was, here in Canada for them. And so they made bold moves too, right? And never took those things for granted. And I didn't have a ton of stuff growing up, but I always felt like well cared for, well loved, and never felt like I missed out on anything really. So had some amazing experiences, and I'm very close with all my siblings as well. So that's a privilege of mine. Like a lot of people don't get along with the rest of their family. So I don't take that for granted. No. And I don't say it to brag, but I definitely, I appreciate people. Like I am a people person. Like there's no bigger extrovert than me. Like I'll come home, the kids' cars will be in the driveway, and I'll be like, oh, and they're gone. And I'll be like, oh, nobody's home.
So time is escaping, but I want to quickly.
I'm sorry.
No, I love this. What is a question that you wish that I asked you that I haven't? And tell us about it.
Why do you talk so much, Sharon? Let me think. You got some good questions. You're like putting us on the spot. I think so much about life, it comes back to why we do the things we do, right? And what makes us who we are, what makes us unique, what makes us like ourselves, right? What it is about us that we're really proud of, right? And not in a bragging way, but what have we done? What have we learned? What have we accomplished? What have we overcome that we are happy about, that, has made us who we are, that we like, right? And there's been lots of experiences. And so all of those experiences, as horrible and horrific as some of them were, number one, I know there's always people that have been through way worse. And number two, it has shaped who I am and how I see the world and how I approach everything else moving forward. And, I've been really thinking a lot about the fact that, okay, if you're living in the past, like if you're depressed, it means you're sort of stuck in the past. If you're anxious, it means you're, too far ahead in the future. And, just being in the present and kind of grounding yourself. And sometimes I have to remind myself if I get too stressed about stuff, because I've got plenty of stuff to be stressed about. But I'm like, Sharon, bad is happening right now? Like, why are
Mhm.
you stressed, right? Like, you're going to fix this. And my partner, Jim, said to his daughter, who was really struggling in this leadership course that she was on in the military. And he said, you're going to be fine in a couple of days. Like, so don't go down there. And he said, skip that dip. And I heard that and I thought, that is so good. Skip the dip, right? You're going to be okay. So do the things that are going to help you be okay faster. Like I always say, my recovery time now when things happen is much quicker than it used to be. I just bounce back faster. And I think I've learned how to skip the dip, like it just don't go down. I'm gonna go down a little bit, but then I'm like, whoa, back up. And then when we bounce over. And I think that is a really good skill to learn. And I don't know. I don't have one secret. I don't have one lesson. There's layers and layers and layers of lessons. And that's what when I coach someone, I want them to dig deep into their own layers, their own experience, their own uniqueness, and then figure out where they want to go from there. That's it. Where are you at right now? What has your past brought you and helped you become, so that you can, realize that vision that you actually have for yourself. And that's different for every person. And that's what makes it so cool. Makes it really interesting. And I want to live an interesting life surrounded by lots of interesting people. And they're all out there. Like there's only 2 or 3 nasty people in the world. I really believe that. Everybody else is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So how can people get in touch with you to work with you with coaching, with your upcoming retreats, which is so exciting? Like, how can people connect with you?
Well, DMing me on Instagram is always. Follow me on Instagram. Listen to the Unstoppable Stylist podcast. You can look at the interview that we already did on there, which was so fun. Fun. Ran out of time. Like, I mean, seriously, I think we could be like Joe Rogan, those 3-hour podcasts.
Yes, I know.
It would not be hard. I don't know if there's any women that are competing with him on that level of like 3-hour podcasts. I'm like 3 hours. I could do 6, but 6-hour podcast. Could you imagine? But no women have time for that nonsense, right?
We're
we got stuff to do. But yeah, like connect with me through Instagram's number 1. And then, listen to the podcast because there are some pearls of wisdom I drop there. And of course I alternate between solo shows and interviews, which I have absolutely loved. That has been, again, I'm a people person. So talking to yourself is like one thing, but talking to somebody else is where the energy really happens. Totally. And that's what does it for me. I love connecting with people and I love seeing people succeed. I mean, myself included, right? But why not? Let's rising tides lift all boats. Let's do it together and be unstoppable together.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Sharon, for coming on to the BeautyPro podcast. This has been so much fun. I cannot wait for everybody to hear this episode. And this is great. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. I absolutely loved having you on my podcast. I'm sure we'll be connecting lots more I'm sure you'll end up at one of my retreats there.
Oh my God. Yes, please.
As a coach. Yeah, because that's the whole idea. I don't want to do it all by myself, right? I want to bring in other people because I have lots of expertise, but I don't have all the expertise and you can't do everything yourself. And it's not much fun to do it all yourself. So yeah, that's definitely going to be a goal, and definitely I think 2024 will be the year for that. Because I have the space already. They're beautiful spaces. They're really cool spaces. The idea. So I just got to get these renovations done. But the whole membership thing is going to be really fun to watch that. Right. And I'm going to be literally practicing what I preach, right? I'm going to be going through that 6-part framework, right? I'm going to build the new brand. I'm going to attract dream clients. I'm going to, all those things, right? As we go through it, and you will be seeing it live and in action, which is going to be really fun. I think it's going to be fun.
Absolutely. It sounds like fun. I cannot wait to see this in action. And heck yeah, I'm coming to your retreat. Let's do it. Let's do it.
That's right. Oh, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I was in event planning and catering for 25 years. So I don't know how to throw a party.
Yes. I love that. Let's do this. Holy cow. All right, Sharon, thank you so much. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Christine. Okay. Talk soon. Bye.
Bye.